Okay. Let's talk a little bit about something before we kind of get to the meat and potatoes of the day. When I was going around yesterday, the comment that I was making most often to students was that your thesis statements in many cases were well composed and reflected all of your topic sentences. However, I asked some of you to condense your thesis statement. What I mean by condensing your thesis statement is that your thesis statement does not need to include the exact language and specificity of your topic sentences. Your topic sentences should be more specific than your thesis. Your thesis should be more general than your topic sentences. However, just like 99% of things in life, it's a pendulum. So for your thesis statement, on one hand, we have too specific. On the other hand, we have too general. Many of you have swung too far towards the too specific. You need to be careful, though, not to overcorrect back the other way and have your thesis statements become too general. You want to find a nice middle point. So for yesterday's sentences that we were dealing with, that you had for homework, topic sentence: during the first year, these young people may be depressed due to conflicts between custodial and non-custodial parents. Grandparents, aunts, and uncles are often restricted by visitation provisions. And almost without exception, adolescents find divorce very painful, but they react in differing degrees depending on their age. So for those topic sentences, many of you came up with a thesis statement that read something like this. During their early years, young people will have conflicts between custodial and non-custodial parents, including non-parents that are restricted by visitation provisions. And without exception, adolescents will find divorce very painful, but that pain will vary depending on age. So this thesis statement, does it reflect all of these topic sentences? Is it specific, strongly worded? So what? Yeah, it's punctuated properly. However, I would say that this is overly specific. So that's not necessarily something that disqualifies your thesis from being good. It just leaves you exposed to having your thesis statement become wordy. Think about if you were to write a 12-page paper someday. A 12-page paper, that would involve about 2 paragraphs per page. So we're talking somewhere along the lines of like 24 different paragraphs. If you were to write a thesis statement like this that would encompass 24 paragraphs, how long would that thesis statement end up being? Yeah, exactly. Right about that. And of its own verbiage. So a thesis statement can thread that needle between specific and general. Here's an example of a thesis statement that accomplishes the same thing as this. Because remember, your thesis statement needs to be specific, strongly worded, so what? And it needs to enable you to write about your topic sentences. It doesn't need to reflect the topic sentences exactly and spell out every single small detail. Your thesis statement just needs to allow you to write about the topic sentences you want to write. So here we go. Shortly after a divorce, conflicts between family members will cause great pain, but the amount of pain felt is determined by the age of the affected children. So this one more concisely, and I would argue more clearly stated than this one up here. Both of these thesis statements allow me to write about these topic sentences. However, whereas this thesis statement is 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half lines long, this one is 1, 2 and a half lines long. So when I say condense your thesis from now on, I mean, right, you're sounding like this, and we need to bring it down here to this. Does that make sense, class? Little mini lesson about thesis statements. Okay, now let's go to what you had to do for today. How many of you, and Mr. Lindenberg may have made a mistake yesterday. How many of you tried to take a crack at coming up with a thesis statement for these topic sentences? Please raise your hand. How many of you tried to come up with topic sentences for this thesis statement? Okay, I should have told you not to start with that because this thesis statement is incredibly challenging to come up with topic sentences for. Since most of you took a crack at coming up with a thesis statement for these topic sentences up here, let's just start with that before I introduce this down here. Those of you that did the topic sentences for the thesis statement, please raise your hand. It's Kyler and Chab. Start working on this. I'm going to give a little explanation about this, and then you can make adjustments to your sentences as possible. Does that sound good? Remember our grading system from yesterday? So a plus means an A, you got it right on the first time. If you don't get it right, I'll give you a slash. Try to fix it on your own. B, if you don't get it right a second time, I'll give it another slash. I'll tell you what the problem is. Try to fix the problem. You don't get it right then I will I will explain exactly what you need to do to fix it. Your thesis statement needs to encompass these topic sentences. A clue I would give you, in these topic sentences, there are cause-effect relationships, right? Or compare-contrast relationships. Those relationships need to be reflected in your thesis statement. So if you don't have a word like all the... For those of you who couldn't see, she sneezed, and then after the sneeze, her sunglasses came down over her face. It was awesome. It was funny, Kyler. If we can't laugh, what are we? Whales. All right. So make sure you have those sentences in your thesis statement, or those words in your thesis statement that indicate relationships.
You never said the words. You just started laughing.
I'm not going to say what words indicate compare, contrast, cause, effect type relationships. You know those. Yeah. And laughing again. Okay. So raise your hand when you think you have a thesis statement for these topic sentences, and we're going to spend probably the next, I would say, 10 minutes. And so you have 10 minutes to get a thesis statement that reflects these topic sentences marked up for a grade. Those of you that didn't do this, so Shab and Kyler, you have longer than 10 minutes. This is just for the rest of them that came back with this. Okay. All right. Hold on a second, Monty. You gotta.
I rewrite. It's really long. Okay. I just have.
Okay. Oh, jeez. What would I tell you? Yeah. So punctually properly. I'm going to give you a plus, okay? But what I want you to do while you're waiting is try to figure out a way to have that bad boy. And if you're wondering what goes into a good thesis or what I'm looking for, the qualities are written in red under the word thesis. Gee, did you hear that? This is straightforward. Content. Give me a different color pen.
I had before, but I thought it was the cause comments.
Which ones?
The accounts.
So that's the end of an intro phrase because you start with because. So because James, blah, blah, blah. So because of this. And then Johnson's more accurate because of this, and this. This one is only double in that it is the end of a list. It is also a coordinating.
You serious?
Yeah, because this is a sentence, and this is a sentence. And then you
Or
have
actually
this
it's more
comment.
here because.
Because this is a sentence right here, and you start it with although. So that's the end of this intro phrase in that last sentence. Does that make sense, Mr. G?
Yeah.
I mean, a nicely phrased sentence. Wow, using stuff we haven't talked about. Yeah, great use of the dash. This could have also been commas here, and would have been a comma. The thing I was looking for most though was this right here, because we have two sentences. So, coordinating conjunction over that semicolon. Yep. Well, next week we'll talk about colons and semicolons, so you can start deploying them with some more confidence. You need to. Why is this coming here? What? No, this is actually the first reason. This position is valid because of this. So you would not need that word there. Okay? Now, so you're good now. However, you're missing that idea of he is putting this country before himself. That last topic sentence. Yeah. There's, I would say, two soft issues. Good enough. Soft issue number one is that this does not reflect the order of that.
Or it should be in the same order.
Yeah, you want your thesis statement. Yeah. Soft issue number two. Now it is. Putting a lot of word numbers here, and that just kind of makes it sound structure of this. Yes, I 100% love that. What?
I was thinking if I wanted to connect some more to, I could, put, or take out, which gets marks in. Like, would you be able to take that out if you were on? Thank you.
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, yes, you could take that out, just have it under, let me see, yeah. All right, 2 more minutes. Why are you concerned about that? What part do you think is worded? Yeah, okay, yeah. This part, yeah, nothing wrong. This is like crazy because I also next to comma, so it should be something that's like good, but not perfect, which is still good. It's just not. But it's good. There you go. Thank you. Alrighty, now let's talk about the toughie.
Oh no. Carter was trying to teach Ben this, and
What?
Carter was trying to help me and Ben do this
Yeah.
early yesterday in resource time.
Where'd you guys get?
I don't know. I wasn't like really involved. I was just chilling there and asking questions.
Okay. This is tough. This is a very, very challenging thesis statement, not only because it's worded in a little bit of that ye olde English. The sentence structure here is incredibly complex. And if you don't understand the relationship between what's going on in the sentence, it would be almost impossible or it will be impossible to come up with topic sentences for this thesis statement. Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you. Pay attention to how things work out and then use this information to construct your topic sentences. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Now, whenever you see a colon, and we'll talk more about colons later, whenever you see a colon, what happens after the colon is making what happens before the colon more specific. So we see a colon here. We know that this colon is going to define these truths. So you don't necessarily need a topic sentence that encompasses we hold these truths to be self-evident, because the truths don't start until afterwards. Does that make sense? Kind of. You can say no, but I do need some form of acknowledgement that it's making some sense or not. Blank stares will not do. Okay, so we know we don't necessarily need to have anything going along with this first part. So these things are the truths that are self-evident. What's truth number one?
All men are created equal.
All men are created equal. Now, here's where it gets tricky. What's truth number two?
They're given undeniable rights.
They are given undeniable rights, but it's a little more than that. What are those undeniable rights?
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
So we don't just have, we hold these truths to be self-evident, number one. Number two, that all men are created equal. Number three, they're given undeniable rights. Number four, those rights are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Okay, that's not it. That would be like too much, overly verbose, tough stuff. Truth number one, all men are created equal. Truth number two, that life is a right that is given, that is undeniable. Liberty is a right that's undeniable. Pursuit of happiness is a right that's undeniable. So we have minimum 4 topic sentences going on here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, craft those 4 topic sentences in a way that it makes them specific. Topic sentences need to be more specific than the thesis. So you can't just say that life is an undeniable right. You have to give me a specific reason why life is an undeniable right. Strongly worded, so what? They need to transition from one to the other based on the thesis, and they need to encompass the entirety of the thesis. We already kind of spelled that out for you. So since you're writing these from scratch, many of you, let's talk about this in, what time does this class get over? 30? Okay. Let's talk about this let's try to get it done in 12 minutes. So that would give you about 3 minutes per sentence. Where does that go?
I fixed.
Yes. There you go. Okay. Thank you for fixing that. You just raise your hand, or you skedaddle. Yep. This is probably going to be what we end with today. So just come back, read the article maybe again, and refresh yourself, and then tomorrow will be article time. Okay.
Decide whether they're specific or strong or specific or so what. They're kind of like,
Borderline.
yeah, they're on the edge. Just, that's what I'm thinking. So these are acceptable. Borderline, not specific. So like when you say, your early Americans religion, is that really cool if you hit like towns or make up something more about why all that were created equal. Is that what you got? Same one here, you get more about it's only really created people in a reason. What is that purpose? I just try to be able. That make sense?
With how we believe life. Everyone has a different purpose.
Or maybe that's it, everyone had, they had different purposes such as, and then you give us more specific purposes. So they can fine, but still continue to drive it become more specific.
this from the Constitution?
Yes.
Making sure.
It's a thesis statement of the Constitution.
It starts with we the people, and then that's towards the end, and then it starts into everything else. That's
Yes.
all signed up. Written by Jefferson,
Mhm.
over 400 drafts.
TJ. When he wasn't owning slaves, he was drafting constitutions. Complicated man. What? Ooh. Also slave owner.
Well, I can't be right all the time. I'm giving that girl.
Dad me convinced. Dad me convinced.
You can convince anyone of anything if I wanted to. If I had the capabilities, if I wanted to, I could make everyone believe that the sun is this ball of fire that's going to murder you if you don't sacrifice enough people. Because Jeff believed.
Well, in a way, will murder us because when the sun
Radiation.
starts to die, it will expand out to like Mars's orbit. So the Earth will end at some point. No matter how many people we sacrifice.
You know that article? Yeah, I have that ability.
What'd you say?
I have that ability.
Oh, yeah. How'd you have for lunch 7 weeks ago?
7 weeks ago. Pizza, sausage.
No.
Yeah, that's not true. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the date?
What?
What was the date?
What day of
Who were you
week?
with?
What?
Who were you with?
Dawson. It was
Where'd you get the pizza from?
Pete's Pizza.
Pizza? What?
Pete's Pizza in Nourishment.
Okay. How'd you pay for it?
What?
How'd you pay for it?
Credit card is I don't carry enough cash.
Okay, so let's get out your credit card.
Alright.
And, not your credit card, get out your bank transactions.
Yeah.
We'll go back to 7 weeks ago, that date, and there should be a pizza.
I have a
pizza.
punch card too. You want to see that?
I do not. I want to see a bank statement with a
What?
credit card purchase
That
of pizza
was
pizza on
the
the
name of
statement.
Rosa. That was on 7 weeks ago.
That was like 7 months ago. We saw Rosa with his
So you
fiance
have-
at Pete's Pizza. He
You
was
have
so
like this
pissed.
right here that says otherwise.
That was the last school year.
No, me and him and Trey actually did go one Sunday
Yeah, I know.
morning.
I know, I couldn't.
You said Sunday morning. Today's not Sunday.
Yes, thank you, Kyler. Another day of the week. Dude, this is way too hard.
You do it.
Why don't you write 4 sentences and then we grade you?
Yeah.
You could do it
Yeah,
with
do it off
fine
the top of my head.
colors.
English teacher, man. I have masters in this stuff.
I don't care.
Topic sentence number 1. America believes that all men were created equal in an effort to diverge away from the British monarchy that caused so much social unrest.
Yeah, I definitely failed.
Yeah, I definitely did too.
In addition, yeah, go from there.
Okay, I got you.
I don't think I have so what.
Got it.
to use.
I don't know how to put it so what.
Make it up,
Or how
man.
to do anything.
Can I do these all the so what tomorrow?
I want you to try to figure it out how much you want.
I like how much it's gonna be.
Yeah, these
Unlike
first two are much
the-
better.
Unlike the, what's a word I can put? Characteristic of British, unlike the. Unlike the jerks from England. Jerks from England. Yeah, I'm writing that. Unlike the oppressing.
Oppressive.
Tyrant.
Cake
Back.
eaters.
What?
The oppressive,
Cake eaters.
the oppressor, the oppressive tyrant. The English one.
Oh, yeah, very good one.
The suffocatingly
Tyrant.
oppressive.
I'm writing that
tyrant.
down.
Oh, great, actually.
All men are believed to be created equal no matter race.
So
Unlike.
we should start having some cracks at it here.
Basketball coach.
Bless you.
Thanks.
Bless you.
Thanks. First one's good. Second one, you got problem with punctuation. Oddly, you don't need to jam that endowed by the creator with certain unalienable rights. You sort of need to jam that in there. You also need to be more specific or so what with your last two. Good job with the transition. And so let's say you've added your condition of so what, your specific after your semicolon in each case. Is that what you're trying to do? Yep. So that's good. This one though is a bit of a mess punctuation wise. So I'll go back to that. But as far as specific strong words, so what transition and covers and gets this to that.
What you're saying anyway, like any way you go, like that becomes 2 words there.
Sure.
Okay.
What did you guys try and say?
What?
What did you guys try and say?
It's all online. Check it out. What?
Can't check the Google Classroom because my photos are separate.
We could check last night at some point.
I had a meet.
What about when you got home?
When I got home from the meet, I was talking with my mother because apparently I have this whole kitten caboodle thing that I got on Saturday. Did you talk to them? I do not know. Yes, I do.
managing your time independently.
Well, we have to- and we co-productive with the attributes of functions that was observed.
I would normally do that too.
I used you as my resource.
Terrible resource. Not a terrible resource.
Liberty neutral.
Got about 4 minutes here to wrap things up. In case you can't tell, we'll get to the article tomorrow. So if you didn't read it, congratulations. Yeah, another day. You did read it and you didn't understand it. Take another crack at that bad boy.
Actually, one of the only things that actually mentioned the rash. Every time I went to Berg, every time I
Crazy world out there. And so we have 1 minute left. If you don't finish, you got a couple of different options. You can try to catch me during a resource, and we can play our plus and minus game then. I'll be around after school for a spell if you don't have a sport to go to. Otherwise, just try to catch me in passing in the hallway to get these bad boys marked off. If you don't, whatever you come back to class with tomorrow will serve as like your final jam. Think about it. If you get all 4 of them, that would be like getting an A. If you only get 3 of them, you get 2 of them. If you get 1 of them done correctly, if you get none of them done correctly, down there. But you don't have any opportunities for revision tomorrow, like you do between now and the beginning of class tomorrow. Make sense? Hey, it's 9:30. I have resource time right now. If you also have spare time.